I can't focus. It's
don't
tough.
worry.
Okay, so this week, what are we talking about?
I think we're going to talk about some adding value. We'll actually get back to the real estate content side of the world a little bit.
What?
I know, right? It's been a couple episodes of
It has.
just shooting. We're still just shooting, but we'll talk about, we talk about BRRRR and all that stuff before, but how do you do that?
If you haven't heard about BRRRR,
Yeah.
please go back and watch our videos. They're titled
I don't know, one of the letters, B or R,
exactly.
or R or
It's
R.
actually a really great series to watch if you are interested in the BRRRR model and or if you have no clue what it is.
Yeah.
Give it a watch. I think we did a good job of explaining it because we are gonna go back to this model, I think, throughout our podcast and just touch on it. And so it would be great to have that as a primer. Bigger Pockets always talks about it, and other real estate podcasts will throw in that term. But it is good to kind of do a little bit of background.
Yeah, just to remind you that we're we still talk about real estate every so often.
Yeah, we still invest.
We still buy houses every so often.
Every so often.
Yes. But yeah, so I mean the super quick synopsis of BRRRR is you buy a house, you add some value to it in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't need to be a house, could be a building or some variety. Mm-hmm. And then you add enough value so that you can take some money out of it.
Exactly.
So the important piece here being, how do you add the value? And I think there's 101 different ways for 101 different property types that you could add value to a property. So why don't we just talk about them?
Sounds good.
What's first? Simple stuff. Paint.
Simple stuff. Paint.
Is this how this episode's gonna go?
Okay, so you take your first steps in a property, right? You're going on property tours. Maybe you see it on realtor.ca or your local agent or the best agents in the city. I'm pointing right now for all those listening. I'm pointing to Phil and I, mainly me.
What?
So you're going to walk through now, right?
Yeah.
You've picked a list of 5 properties and you're going to take a look at them. And if you're looking for solely investments, you're going to see some rundown properties most likely. Some properties that maybe not are rundown, but are dated for sure. And we see that all the time. Mm-hmm. And you walk in and there's old paint and there's maybe smoke damage from people smoking, or there's furniture rubbing against the walls. It's dirty, it's dated, it's wacky colors, and it's the first thing you notice in most properties.
Oh, wacky colors is a great example if the camera's on. Oh, I can't even.
He's opening the door right now, and
this is a home that needs some. That camera can get it, I think.
But maybe we can see it, but yeah, for those listening, there's crazy colors in Phil's office.
Part of the reason I bought the house.
I don't understand why they painted it like that, but it's kind of cool.
There's like 7 colors just sitting between us, and 1, 2 in that room, 3 in that room, shares the gray, so 4 with this red wall. There's a blue in the bathroom,
and shocker that you got such a good deal.
Hey man,
I think it goes hand in hand, right?
They could have spent an extra $5,000, tidied her up, and there was still junk in the backyard was a wasteland. But
I think it's the first thing you notice. I mean,
yeah,
and if you're not
that held it back.
If you're not a long-term investor, if you don't have all that knowledge and you walk in, you're going to be turned off very quickly. And especially if you're an end user and you don't have the vision of how a property is going to look. So a lot of the times people will have that vision and they'll walk in and go, okay, I can move this here. I can put a couch here. I can put my kitchen here.
Yeah, well, that's where you as the buyer can get a deal.
That's
right.
Where deals are made.
If there's some, I think we're talking pretty specifically for most buyers about the lipstick category of work, right? Just okay, we paint the house, we can change the floors, we can update the cabinets a little bit, right? The general nothing too crazy to the property, but just making it look better than it is from a design perspective, the fit and finish perspective. But that's part of the reason that it held back this house, and it holds back many homes. And if you're a new buyer, you're probably especially hey, you're a lot of people now moving out of condos into a freehold space. They're used to the condo style of living. They're used to everything being finished and tight. And a lot of the buyers that, we never have to deal with because we do so many investments are just looking for the sexy finish stuff. But we can look at the less sexy finish stuff, knowing it's not going to take us a bunch of money to tidy it up and add our own value.
And paint is actually relatively inexpensive.
No,
it's the
labor
painting.
is expensive.
Yeah, the labor is expensive. And if you hire professional painters, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg, but they'll do a great job.
Yeah.
But you can also hire handymen to do it, and you have to be okay with the difference of quality. Professional painters are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And yeah, handymen. Depends on who. I mean, if you know them, you could even do it yourself. And here's a way of saving some money.
Not always. That's a lie. But
I
used to always. We were in like condos and smaller spaces.
Yeah, it's something that you have a weekend. You can do it. You tape up the ceilings, tape up the baseboards if need be, and
away you go.
Have at it. If you get good enough. I mean, when I used to be a painter, actually, believe it or not, for a very short period of time. It wasn't really a profession for me, but yeah, it was a summer job, and I was painting a high rise.
Was it like
building.
College Pro or whatever? Did you
No, it was. I worked for my best friend's uncle owns a company, kind of like a later term Elevate sort of type of thing. They own a bunch of apartment buildings, and so there was always work that needs to be done at apartment buildings. So we were painting this whole apartment building, and very quickly I realized that's not the work for me. So
now on the painting podcast,
but I got really good at painting.
Oh, so. That's good.
yeah, I started
taping
everything. I mean, like by the end of it, I was like,
and you're like, yeah,
done.
Yeah, exactly.
It was good, nicely cut lines, and
Spiro can teach you all how to paint on his next YouTube series.
No, that would be really boring.
But you should. Okay, so I mean, we spent a lot of time on painting there for a second, but
yes.
all this to say, you don't have to be an investor to add some value, right? There's a lot of people for the first time buying homes in our demographic right now, moving out of that condo life, moving into the freehold, a little bit more space, a little bit of work from home, and saying, okay, crap, I'm competing with all these people in this new sexy homes. Well, maybe just look a step down. Hell, that's what we did here. And find something that's maybe a little bit cheaper, maybe not so much competition, and it is not being sold on its sexiness. And a lot of the time, maybe it's just paint and flooring, and away you go. And you
actually perfect flooring. That's exactly what I was going to mention next. So you walk into the front door, you immediately notice the paint, the ugly paint, and you're like, this is going to be way too much work. I don't want to do it. It's not worth the price, and you leave.
Yeah,
that's what the typical person will do. Now, what's the second thing that you usually notice is the floor? I mean, you're walking on it. You're looking,
especially that old carpet life.
Exactly. So you notice maybe it's old wood flooring that's a little bit rough and needs a nice sanding and staining, or maybe needs to be ripped out, or maybe needs to be built on top of.
Or better yet, I saw this. This was like a meme a while back. Anyway, something about boomers covering up old good hardwood with stupid carpet or broadloom. But a lot of times, like you peel up that carpet and you're like, damn, that hardwood's in great shape.
Yeah,
right.
We had a client. One of our clients did that last summer. I believe they peeled the carpet and it was like beautiful old hardwood, and I was like, why would they ever cover this with carpet?
That was like the thing. I don't know why, but then you get like you're looking at Nona's home and she left the carpet on top. And you're just trying to freshen the place up a little bit. Up goes the carpet. Boom, it's great underneath. Sand and restain. A little bit of paint. Maybe you change some knobs in the kitchen and a countertop. Bada bing, bada boom, you're livable, right? And you didn't pay, the extra, I dare say $100,000. That's maybe a little aggressive, but the extra money with the extra competition on the next house. But let's say you're not an end user, because, I mean, we are investors. We do talk to a lot of investors. What are some other ways that we can add value to a property? Bedrooms, money, dollars on the rent. That's probably one of the most common ones that we use.
That's probably the most simple ones, and the ones that if you're listening to this and you've watched other real estate investment podcasts or shows, that's what they always talk about, right? How many bedrooms could you squeeze into this unit, especially if you're looking at the student housing type or rooming house type of building. If
you're like a bedrooms dollar, so there's a couple categories of like where the dollars for rent truly do equal value. And I mean, maybe that could be on the student housing side, or that could also be on like a larger apartment building, 5, 7, 10 plus units, where the value is actually appraised based on like the net operating income of the property. How much money does it bring in versus how much am I spending? And the more I can keep monthly, the more the property's worth generally on a larger, more commercial building. On a lot of our like the stuff that we do, the single family homes converted into 2-3 units, that type of stuff, it's probably worth noting that like you're still comparing yourself to a single family home, right? So it doesn't necessarily, our first property, there's like a semi-detached little bungalow in our usual pocket, the JV we have in the office there. That's like, it's got 7 bedrooms in it. Again, semi-detached bungalow or 1.5 story, 7 beds. It prints money. It's a great high cash flow property. But at the end of the day, it's still got 7 beds in a semi, and that's a little crazy. And like an end user who you're still comping against, it doesn't have that, right? Yeah. Or they don't care whether or not they have that. So that there's a certain extent of where the value
you always
can be
have to compare
the bedrooms.
apples and apples.
Yeah.
So you can't compare apples and oranges.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you have 7 bedrooms and the typical bungalow in that area has 2 or 3.
Yeah. Maybe you get a benefit from having 1.
Yeah,
more.
Exactly. Maybe
if you're not sacrificing more space for that, right?
But your net operating income is
gonna go up. So I mean, all that to say, like I've started to lean this way too, and we started to do a lot of our properties like instead of the triplex. Legal is one thing, but instead of like the hacky triplex, right, where you've taken out effectively the top floor, and then you have the main floor, which kind of is as it was anyways, and the basement, which in Toronto, it's almost always acceptable for it to be an apartment. By going to like that 3rd unit, you now, instead of doing like the top 2 floors together, you kind of now limit almost your, and this is subjective, but I think you potentially could limit your true value, your true like appraisal cost, for example, or appraisal value by by turning yourself into now an investor only product when you're comparing to
it all depends, right? There's people that would argue the opposite side too, right? Typically if you have 2 separate units where you would have originally had 1, you're going to be gaining a higher return immediately. So
yes, monthly.
2 1-bedroom units will almost always give you more income right now than 1 larger unit. Because the more bedrooms you have, the less each bedroom is actually going to generate an income. If you go by that model of taking how many bedrooms there are.
No, that's fairly accurate though. There's a diminishing return. A 1-bedroom goes for this, and a 2-bedroom goes. So if a 1-bedroom is 15 and a 2-bedroom's 25, there's already a little bit of cut off, and 3 gets lower.
It's basic. Think about it yourself.
Yeah.
Would you rather be living with 4 or 5 roommates, or would you rather be living by yourself?
Economy of scale, I suppose.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't even know where we were at now.
We went on a tangent about bedrooms.
Bedroom tangent. Yes. So, the point I was trying to make, because some people have a tendency to go, and hey, I was like this before, bedrooms equals value. Bedrooms equals dollars per month. But there is a point of don't go too crazy and start throwing up walls in your living room to split one living room into 2 bedrooms and your dining room into 2 more bedrooms and just cram as many people in there as possible. There is a fine line to walk, because that would have an adverse effect also by just turning your house into like this makeshift sketchy rooming house situation. And then we won't even talk about the tenant issues you'll have to deal with down the road. So like keep within the norm of the neighborhood, the norm of like what feels comfortable in that property style, plus maybe a touch, but nothing too crazy.
So that's bedrooms. Bedrooms, paint, flooring.
Yeah. The basics. Those are real basic.
Those are real basics, but we're missing 2 of the, I would say, most basic things that people look at when they walk into a home. This is end user and investors. It's both. You walk into the kitchen and you see an old kitchen with, laminate everything practically. I guess in that point it'd be laminate everything. And you have the old big clunky stove, and it's pink because it's from like the 60s, and you have the old fridge, and everything's laid out poorly, and there are what seems to be 100 different cupboards because that's how they used to build them. Everywhere.
Tiny little things.
Tiny. And you see that, and immediately you get turned off. And that's what happens to the average person. I think. I hope you guys can see where I'm going here. When I say the average person, or that's what you notice, it's because most people will see that and walk away. And that's exactly where the deal is. both for end users and investors.
Just again,
end users. How are you going to pick up that $1.5 million home that you really want, but you can only afford a $1 million home? Well, if you look at the $1 million
work to do.
You have some work to do, and you need to put that sweat equity. And you're going to find that shitty kitchen or that shitty bathroom, which is the second thing I was going to bring up.
Yep.
Those are huge places to look. And again, you may have heard this before because this is basics. This is real estate basics. This is really where you have to begin. You walk into the kitchen and you get to that point where you know exactly how much everything's going to cost to fix. So without even visiting a property, you can just look at the pictures and be like, okay, I need this done. I need this done. New appliances is going to cost X amount. The cupboards are going to cost this amount. I just need to paint this, put new flooring, and we're good to go. And it's going to look like $1 million after, or 1.5 in my example.
$1 million doesn't get you far here anymore.
No. But yeah, kitchens are very important. And what are some of the things that we do personally
for kitchens?
Yeah, I mean, I like the stainless steel appliances. I think
that's like a non-negotiable anymore.
That's
2020.
Like, exactly.
You get yourself some stainless.
And actually, the price wise, they're like $100 more.
Yeah, they're dirt cheap nowadays.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Stainless is important.
That's all people really buy, I would say. Yeah. At this point.
Quartz is nice. I like me some nice. Okay, so when we're talking
super
about
easy to clean.
Again, this whole concept of value. You want to be, especially when you're talking about renovating, picking colors, all this type of shit, you want it to be like super neutral. You want to appeal to the masses, as many people as possible. Bright, neutral, that type of stuff. So when we're talking about like kitchen counters, I like whites. I don't like the dark counters.
That's in now, though.
What, the dark counters?
Sorry, not dark counters, dark cupboards.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's super in right now.
I've got the fairly gray cupboards, which I almost wish they were a touch darker, but that's dope. So the white cupboards are kind of like a timeless. I don't think you can go wrong.
It makes the room look bigger. It makes it look clean. Yeah. It makes it look bright. You can't go wrong with
white
them.
Counter, and then like some people will mix it up. They'll go with like a gray upper or gray lower and a white upper. Usually, I think it's gray lower, white upper.
Yeah,
I've got the gray all around.
I think it was one of your clients had a dark. One of the clients,
Simon's done it recently too.
Simon's done it, yeah, and it looks cool. I mean, I don't know what I like the bright colors, to be honest.
Yeah,
because I think it makes you feel clean when you walk in.
Yeah.
Or like, let's say you wake up and you go down to your kitchen and it's really bright, the shiny stainless steel, your nice quartz white countertop.
It's clean. It's nice. It appeals to the masses, right? Same with bathrooms. Like the bathrooms, it's more or less the same. I should make a note. I want my gold freaking handles.
Yes.
I think now this is subjective. This is more personal preference. I like me some gold handles in a kitchen.
No, it's objective. It's objective. Everybody loves
it's the new
gold.
thing. So like that was, anyways.
And it's the new thing.
Yes.
Yeah. For those who didn't see. Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Bathrooms is more of the same. Like I like big 12 by 20. It's not even that big, but anymore. 12 by 24, like porcelain tile or something. Not crazy expensive, but brightens up the space.
Looks a lot more expensive than it actually is.
Yeah, and that's where we go that's where we go on our materials, especially for like the rentals. Looks more expensive than it is. Shows super well. Like the vinyl plank flooring, that type of stuff shows well.
Rentals
and it's
aside, if you're going to be living in a place and you're on a budget and you can buy something that looks way more expensive than it is.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. It's kind of like this table right here.
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect example.
It's a perfect example. It looks
I'm
great.
real good at buying shit that looks more expensive than it is. And then we go talk to Mr. Appraiser and we say, Mr. Appraiser, look what I did to the house.
I'm sure Lauren would say something different.
About me buying shit that's more... she gets the opposite. I tell her that it's less expensive than it was.
I can confirm.
Yeah. What? I hope she doesn't listen to this podcast.
She probably won't.
No, probably won't. Let's be real. She hears me talk enough. Okay. So that's kind of the lipstick stuff. I mean, kitchens and bathrooms are maybe a little bit more than lipstick, but like
some elbow grease. But
yeah, it's not anything like too crazy, right?
Basic.
All the behind the walls stuff. Unfortunately, as nice as it is for you as the owner, and this is why you hear these complaints about like flipping companies and stuff like that just like buttered it up, made it look all pretty, and then bounced, and like everything behind the walls is still shit. The house is still leaking, all this stuff. Not saying all flipping companies are like that. Most of them are great, but there certainly are.
A lot of developers and builders are like that as well. So
yeah.
So for example, my girlfriend's house out in Burlington.
Yeah.
I was speaking to her family, and they mentioned that they were having an issue, so they had to go behind the wall in one part of their home, and they opened it up and they found Tim Hortons cups,
In the
old
wall?
garbage. They just threw it in there, and they just patched on the drywall.
Yeah, they don't give a
and,
fuck.
No, they don't care because their whole goal is to get as many
speed
as fast
and then
as possible.
again, and they focus on what's their highest value item, making it look pretty. I can sell it for lots because it looks sexy.
And then whatever happens 4 or 5 years
I'm
down
outta
the road
here, right?
doesn't matter anymore.
And that's where and I echo the same message a little bit. If it's your house and you're living in it and you want to take care of your property well, yeah, you should obviously HVAC, electrical, plumbing, your insulation, your windows, your roof, all these types of things. You need to make sure they're in good working order. Unfortunately, they don't reflect to value so much, right? It's like spending for the maintenance. I'm gonna, on a car, it's like doing your brakes, because if you don't do your brakes, you're gonna drive into a wall. But it doesn't add value to the car.
It's
it
like
just maintains
stretching
it.
every day.
Or stretching.
People never stretch, and then they complain their back hurts. But if you just stretch every day, it's not sexy, it's not fun. You're not gaining huge muscles, but you're gonna feel much better. And that's kind of how doing all those
the bench
HVAC
press is like a kitchen, and the yoga is like the HVAC.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. Yeah,
that makes sense.
You can
I swear.
You can start bench pressing and gain a nice chest, but if you don't have good core strength or good flexibility, you're gonna
not be able to wipe your ass.
You're gonna be a Goomba.
A Goomba. Hey. Okay, so we're adding value to the inside of a house.
What adds value to yourself as a homeowner? So that's kind of what we just brought up. Here is. And again, this is investor or end user. What brings you value? What helps you sleep at night? What helps you know that you've put your all into this property? Either way, it's your baby, this property. It's a lot of money to be investing. No matter where, if you're buying a relatively inexpensive property for a couple $100,000 in 4 hours away from the city, or if you're buying a $5 million property in Rosedale.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, what's going to help you sleep at night? And I think that is a lot of the bones. It's a lot of the yoga.
Yes.
So call it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's going to help. Or do you have high efficiency windows?
Yeah.
Do you have a new roof?
Hey, man, waterproofing is a big one. Maybe not so much for like the people that live outside of the city and a little bit of a newer build age in their home, but like Toronto homes. This place is 90 years old. Most of them are between like 80 and 110-ish. So, yeah, okay, they might leak in the basement every now and then. So if you're going to spend $40,000 to update your basement and you've already got maybe like a starting moisture problem, that's the one. I've taken too many, being, property manager in the past, taken too many midnight phone calls of like, I got water coming into my basement and I don't even know where it's coming from, to just say, yeah, if I'm doing the project and it might look like it's kind of wet now, let's just
and
get
take
her
it
done.
from us. Trying to contact a waterproofer to come immediately.
Especially after everyone in the city's had water issues.
Especially after everything is flooding. It's an impossible task, and it's going to get stretched on for weeks, if not months.
Or dealing with it in the middle of the evening when it's still flowing into the basement. It's never fun.
It's not fun. Trust me from experience. I cannot put enough emphasis on this. Please waterproof your basement
if required. Some of them,
required.
there's no sense in spending good money after bad.
And some are just not regrading. Maybe it's
there's a lot of preventative you can do first. Anyway, that's for me. That's my huge.
That's huge.
It has $0 value, right? I'm not getting paid. I'm not making more money for waterproofing the house. It will add no value, except for I will be able to sleep comfortably.
Yeah. Right? I mean, you could debate maybe a little bit, but your return on investment is not. Don't even look at it. Yeah. It's more just a peace of mind. It's going to help you sleep well and know that you put your all into this property. And that's the same with a lot of those things. Do you have a nice furnace? Is your furnace breaking down? Is your AC unit breaking down? Do you even have an AC unit?
Oh, you better.
I would always promote having one.
Yeah, it's Toronto. There's a lot of homes with radiant,
good price,
and people
like $3,000-$4,000.
Yeah, if you have a
even on the
air,
higher end, man,
you'll get it for $4,000 in for all day.
$4,000, easily.
Before we go too deep into we've talked a lot about homes, your individual personal home. Hey, we'll maybe touch real quick on the outside of a home too. Like what do you do on the outside that adds value?
You know what's super sexy right now?
Red doors.
Are they?
I don't know.
Oh, I was going to say black trim.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god,
Red
it looks
brick,
amazing.
black trim, and like cedar on the porch kind of thing.
Oh,
that is
so super sexy.
Bellissima.
Yeah, that's
So nice.
Again, aesthetic probably does nothing realistically to the property, but
again, it attracts eyes, right?
Exactly.
I mean, if you have, that's like you could do. It's either you've done it or you haven't. Yeah, she's crazy dog under the table.
Oh, now we're playing footsies.
Yeah, that's weird. So either you've done it or you haven't. So long as you haven't done it like horribly, you're gonna be having a better perceived value in the front. What can you do in the back? Same idea, right? This like you can either have just like a junkyard like I had when we first moved in, or a gorgeous grass yard, which is super basic, super basic, which doesn't add a ton, or you can do the full like backyard oasis situation, which obviously will add some value. Or what? Pools. Here's the topic of contention.
Okay, for a rental property, first of all,
don't ever add a pool. Oh my god, the liability stresses me out so much.
I know. That will keep you up at night.
Yeah,
I guaranteed. Especially if you're renting out to a family with little kids.
Oh yeah.
I don't even want to think about that.
Nope.
Stay away.
Yep.
Stay away.
Do that.
That's my advice. Stay away. Now, if it's for your end user home and you think adding a pool is going to add value to your property,
I don't think so.
This is a tough one.
So.
Because there is that.
Subjective.
Exactly. You don't really want to be focusing a lot of money on subjective things. You want to do the objective items or tasks: kitchens, bathrooms, floors, paint. Super objective.
Everyone likes
nicer
kitchens. Stuff.
Now pools, I would argue that a larger percentage of the population dislikes pools than likes pools.
I don't think they dislike pools. So here's I love pools. I love cottages. I never want either one of them because they're both a shit ton of maintenance. And I think that's probably more what it is, right? It's not who the fuck doesn't want to wake up and like go swimming on a nice summer day? But like
fair.
That 1 out of 365 days that you're going to wake up and go swimming instead of the other.
I can guarantee you every day when you wake up and you look in your pool and you find 100 leaves or like, garbage or a dead raccoon floating in it.
Hey,
hopefully nothing else that's dead in it.
Yeah.
No.
CSI Miami started here.
I think dislike pools. I think I stand by that statement.
I'm down on pools.
Most people, I would say dislike it. However,
if you like pools, if you're never moving.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't mind a pool.
You just better love pools. You better be into pools.
Yeah, but you got to know what you're getting into here.
Yeah.
Your value of your property, I would say it's untouched.
I would love...
And pools are expensive to build.
Here's one. This is like if the property had, let's say, a 4-car garage.
Yes.
And less house as a result of the 4-car garage. Most people would probably say, I don't got 4 cars. What the fuck? But
subjective.
Very subjective. I would love a 4-car garage. I'll get all my old beaters in there. Ooh, get a good little Datsun 240Z Life. You don't even know what I'm saying.
No clue.
Anyways, I would love it. And the value to me would probably be higher. But I'm one person of like let's call it 500 that want to look at the house. And I bet you the other 499 don't give a shit about the 4th garage spot. And
probably not.
So super subjective, just like pools, just like a lot of other things you could put in your house. Crazy fixtures, that type of stuff could be, super used. So keep things neutral if you're trying to add dollar value. Why don't we shift gears a little bit? Because we talked a lot about houses.
I really want a tennis court in my backyard.
See?
With a basketball net.
I mean,
that's
not.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty... The house has got to be pretty dope if you've got, in the space, the lot. If you've got space for a tennis court, you probably got space for a lot of other stuff.
Oh,
I don't.
A lot of other stuff. A lot. Get it?
I'm so punny.
But lot size is actually pretty important too.
Yes.
I think that's more on purchase. There's nothing really you can do there.
Well, you can't really increase your lot size unless you're playing Monopoly and like buying up your neighbors.
I know somebody's doing that in, I don't know, small town.
Nice.
Farm town, Ontario.
I mean.
But she's buying like her neighbor's properties. Pretty cool.
That's the move.
Playing real life Monopoly there.
That's the move. I would love, because we're in a semi, like I would love to buy this guy.
Yeah, over there.
I know my house.
Oh,
nice.
your dog just...
Okay. Sorry, Cal.
She just hit her head
thought she could
so
be part of
hard.
the podcast.
She's looking.
and
She's
she
staring
just,
at a wall right now.
Smoked her head on one of the.
You okay?
Oh, she's fine. Anyways,
Oh no.
she's like, help me. Get me
So
out of
how
here.
about laneway housing?
Yeah, so like there's other ways, right? So you talked about lot. What else is on the lot that could potentially increase the value of the home? Absolutely. And I think this is a very Toronto specific thing right now. I don't know other cities that have piloted this. I'm sure there are.
I think Marco in Windsor is.
Are they
I'm not sure.
messing around with all the? He's doing some development stuff.
now.
I just don't
And
know
I
what
if
development.
he's- Yeah.
But like, okay, and this is
When we get him on again, he'll be sitting.
he'll talk
over
about
here
all of his dope development projects. So this is like a very new one, right? The city. We had a call with a great company that specializes in this recently, but the city is kind of, I don't want to say rubber stamp, but they've made it very very straightforward. If your lot and property meet a certain set of criteria to get approvals across the city for a laneway house. Right, some of those criteria, it's got to be of a certain width, more or less 20 feet is kind of like the standard-ish. Don't quote me on that. And then like a certain depth, you have to be so far away. The laneway house has to be so far away from like the main house in the backyard. You can't fuck with anyone's like sight lines and shit like that. So I know they were showing us
You
like
have to have good
roof
width,
slopes.
so walk from the front of the property to the back.
Something about existing parking and all that stuff. But if your property meets those criteria, you could literally build a second house on your own lot. I mean, you have to have access to a laneway. That's,
And
pretty
just
simple criteria for laneway
to
house.
take a step back, it is pretty expensive to do.
Oh, yeah.
You're literally building a property
Yeah,
on
you're
your property.
and it's. I mean, your whatever shanty old garage is likely there is probably not going to support it. You've got to run, new electrical, new plumbing, all that type
Well,
of
it's
stuff.
like your boy Ryan Carr does in
Your boy.
in Oshawa. I think he buys properties that you can legally split.
Sever. Yeah, he's talked about a couple crazy severing deals.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the Toronto version. You're not severing a 15 by 100 foot lot. There's absolutely no way. But
yeah, if it's got a laneway.
But you can definitely build something on the existing property. I mean, again, like Phil said, there's a lot of things that you got to look into here. But and there are professionals that do this. I mean, it would be an interesting conversation for us to have on the podcast.
Yeah, I would actually love to have one of those guys on to go deeper.
I've actually
this is
already talked to them, and
nice.
I think they're cool to come on.
Bring them to the basement, get them nice and drunk, and teach us about laneway housing.
What the fuck? Get him nice. That's not where I thought he was going with this one.
I want to learn about laneway housing
Get 'em
in its
nice and
fullest, most organic form. That's
advantage
all.
of
It has nothing to do with. Never mind. That wall is red. I gotta paint that.
It's a red. Oh my god!
You're gonna come back and it's not gonna be gray. It's gonna
They're not coming on.
They're gonna listen to this episode. They're never coming
They'll
on.
be like, oh yeah, let's check you guys out. What? you want to get me drunk?
Anyways, yes. But okay, so here's it's maybe not subjective value. Like there is definitely, if I build a rental unit on the back of my lot, I'm going to get X for rent, and there is a monthly dollar value associated.
Caution. This is there are no precedents for this.
That's where that's where the issue comes.
That's the big issue, right?
Is if you're taking, let's say you take a line of credit on your house to spend $200,000 to build a giant laneway house.
It's gonna cost more.
$200,000 to build a not so giant laneway house in the back of your lot.
You're probably looking at four to 500,000.
I don't think it'd be that high.
If you want to make it really nice.
Yeah, I mean, if it depending on the size.
And if you have architects that are making it look fancy.
Bougie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could probably do it for 3. Anyways.
So it's going to be 6 figures and deep 6 figures. So let's say you took that money out of your home and you're expecting, our Crazy Bear model, you're expecting to refinance it and pay that capital off. The problem with being so early is there's just no precedent for it. Right?
In theory, it makes total sense. I mean, how does your property that doesn't have 2 buildings on it not
worth more?
Yeah, how is it not worth more?
I'm sure it would be worth more.
But
I mean,
to what
it's a pretty,
extent,
and that's where you just don't know. So you got to be comfortable with the unknown, knowing that the appraiser's probably going to be new, not new appraiser, but new to this whole idea.
I've never seen this before.
This just isn't.
I mean,
common.
appraisers just look at properties and they
got to have something to compare it to, right? Or at least a known form to make an adjustment accordingly.
Exactly.
And I don't know that exists yet, but it is still a very certainly an interesting opportunity.
Would you steer clear from them for now?
No, not necessarily.
Now, what type of investor wants to buy and build a a laneway house.
Well, that's
I think that's a little bit because I'm trying to think when it would really make sense. And I think what, to my understanding right now, it makes sense for someone like you said who has a home that they've paid off already and wants to, maybe it's their, I mean, it's a great opportunity to have either
kick the kids out,
the kids or the
Kick
parents,
them out.
right? Like
you're not
you
coming
have
back.
old parents that don't need,
Yeah.
4-bedroom home. They need their 1 or 2 bedrooms, and
Yeah.
they could just live on your property and be close.
You don't want
you
the
can
in-laws living in your basement? Well, kick them in the backyard.
Throw them in the laneway.
This is the Toronto version of setting up a tent in your backyard for the kids to go play in, kind of thing. Just
having a coach house or whatever it is.
It's essentially a coach house.
It is.
And
it's
you need a specific criteria on your lot to have one. That's all.
The return on investment is, again, subjective.
Yeah,
right
monthly
now.
cash on cash you can justify. There's a dollar. There's an associated value there. So like maybe at least you could probably cover. Right, if I'm taking out X on a home equity line of credit and I'm going to get $2,000 a month, well, I could probably cover my cost of borrowing, but am I going to refinance and get my money back? I don't know. But it's an interesting opportunity. So like there's certainly the type of people, either like you said, are going to be kicking them out to the backyard, or like the families, multi-generational living, someone moves out to the back.
Which is definitely going to be on the rise. I think it's always been apparent, and I would say a lot of European families, to my knowledge, or
super,
maybe immigrant families, I'll say, because it's, I mean, for a lot of people, if you don't need to pay rent,
it's great.
Don't pay rent and save until you can buy. I mean, that's exactly how generational wealth starts, right? You have the first generation that comes here and they work their ass off every day and they pay off their house that they bought for $20,000 or whatever it was at the time, and their kids grow up in the house and they stay until they're 30 and then they move out and they've already saved and never paid rent for a day, and then so on and so on. So I mean, that's a great way to have that opportunity, because in Toronto you don't have space to grow realistically.
Well, if you can't afford to buy another property altogether,
exactly,
right? And
your kids are going to be really cooped up very quickly.
Let's say your parents have owned the property for 20 years. It should be paid relatively low. That's a good strategy for that type of thing without having them go too far, but also not being like right on top of each other.
Yeah.
But another person that could be maybe looking at that type of strategy, I don't know what the hell this was, could be like an investor, but who wants to plan long-term, wants to plan for the future. And we're doing this maybe a little bit more often nowadays with our early investors too, for like bungalows, top-ups, extensions, building more, not just on the lot, like a second house altogether, but so you don't have a laneway. You could build the house up. You could build the house back. So there's a lot of detached bungalows that are going around that are maybe cash flow neutral, plus a little bit, they're not super crazy cash flow heavy because they don't have the opportunity for 3 floors of bedrooms, right? But they're at least cash flow positive. And then, the whole process of doing a top up, by top up, I mean adding an additional floor or an extension to your home, is fairly extensive, right? Got to get permits. You got to get, you got to get drawings.
Segue. Top ups. Andre and I are going to do a walkthrough of a property. It is so beautiful.
Where?
And they topped it up. Gwinnett Avenue.
Oh, nice.
It is going to be listed. I don't want to disclose any details yet. We're still in the process of finalizing it. It's going to be around $2 million, probably a little bit above.
Nice.
But it's, oh my God, fantastic. The top up they did. And you can really tell the difference of the top up. It was a 1.5 story. So kind of like a bungalow on steroids.
2.5 or 2?
Now it's a 3.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful.
It's happening more and more, right? Because you've got all these, like, it happens a lot around here, happens a lot around like that, the St. Clair West area.
St. Clair West,
a lot of
Eglinton
these
West.
old bungalows.
Eglinton West is a hotbed for that.
That's going crazy right now. Don't tell everybody.
I know. Beep that out, Andre. You gotta beep that out.
I gotta buy more over there first.
Yeah, if you subscribe for us.
This was that this is tangent.
Actually,
here's a tangent.
Beep that out.
This fucking happened. Blog TO. People ask why that pocket like popped so quickly. We were still buying like Corso Italia, Eglinton West, Super St. Clair West.
Beep
pocket.
all this out.
Oh, just beep beep.
Oh my God, Simon's gonna have a stroke.
I know. No, it's gone now. It used to. Well,
That's true.
It's not entirely gone, but it used to be like dirt cheap, and it's gone up 22% over the course of
Peterborough Street.
Yeah. What about it?
What did it sell for?
I don't know yet. It's sold conditionally. Under 1.2, which is a great deal. So I mean,
it's a great deal. If you got it under 1.1, oh my God.
Barring that.
Perfect.
But that whole pocket went up so fast, and I have clients sort of from last year to this year being like, well, I talked to you last year, and these were the properties you were sending me, and then I sat on the sidelines, and then I sent you I'm sending them properties now, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? But I tell you, man, it's BlogTO or Narcity or one of these fucking websites. Somebody put up this article, oh, the last safe place for millennials to live and cheap and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden,
so cheap anymore.
Incoming the flocks, and well, it's okay because I own some stuff over there, but it's harder to buy more. Still cash flow positive in Toronto.
And you gotta always live and learn and adapt. Nothing's ever certain.
Yeah.
Stocks, real estate, no matter what you're investing in. I don't even want to talk about stocks, but real estate, the pockets move, and fire, gentrifier. My favorite term. Okay.
How long is this tangent?
This is a kind of a touchy subject, I guess, to some.
What,
but
the dirty term gentrify?
I just can't fathom the negatives of gentrification. I try to think of
I'm
it.
staying the fuck out of this one.
I try to think about it, and hold on. I get it. I get it. You want to live in the area, and you want to keep it for generations and generations, right? And some generations. I mean, I won't get into poverty and different neighborhoods and why there's poverty. I mean, I can talk about that for hours, and we can have a full.
You can
TED
do that
talk.
on the Spiro Talks by Himself podcast.
Exactly. I can do that on my own and keep you out of it. But I think if you look throughout history, what happens to neighborhoods that are not gentrified or cities that don't become gentrified?
We can't control it, right? It's a tough thing. If there is an in-demand area, let's use Toronto as an example.
Yeah. It's
just kind of like if there is enough constant pressure, constant demand on a small enough section, like geographical area, the supply is only so far, the demand is so great, the cost is going to increase, and because the cost is continuing to climb so high, like the gentrification just kind of happens because only certain people can then buy into a neighborhood, right? And over generations, I suppose that barrier to entry just continues to get higher, and then people end up moving out. And I don't know, maybe I'm just explaining how gentrification works, but
well, you're seeing it right now in a community that means a lot to me in Greektown, right here at Danforth. It used to be all Greek-owned businesses, and now there's barely any left.
I got a bunch of us yups just moving in.
That's exactly what happened, and all the businesses left, and the landlords raised rents because
and then the new bougie businesses move in, and
exactly, or chains, or franchises, and it changes neighborhoods. But and this is happening to a neighborhood that means a lot to me. But you have to adapt. It's just all about adapting, and I would argue cities become stronger. It's like a new Netflix show comes out and you watch it right away, and you're like one of the first people to watch it, and then everybody watches it and they're like, this is the best show, and you get angry at them and you're like, no, this was my show, I was here first.
Altered Carbon. I heard
that's
good. My show for that. Well, see, clearly not everyone's jumped on, so that's good.
No,
but go watch Altered Carbon. That was good shit. Not a sponsor or a plug or anything. Speaking of sponsors.
I was about to say that. Oh, man. Okay, let's get back to the topic here. We've gone on a tangent. I mean, I think...
So you got a few ways. You can pretty up, and you can do your internal, your little lipstick reno. That's going to add some value. Absolutely. Fairly easy stuff to do. Makes your house pretty, more livable. You're likely going to get some value out of it. You could add a house on the back of your house. Back of your lot, not actually attached to your house. So laneway house, if you've got specific allowances for that. Yes, you can add some value. How much? Right now, a little bit tough to figure out. You could also top up your property. You can extend your property. These are things that have been going on for quite a while now. The process is tough, but it's nice for investors maybe to buy a bungalow, for example, have a couple units, rent cash flow positive, barely, but still cash flow positive. Then they can hold that property indefinitely. And then over the years, they can go to committee of adjustments, go to the city, get your permits, blah, blah, blah. And then when they're ready and the property's appreciated and they've got the permits in hand, they can do that top up or that extension or whatnot. And there should be, depending on the neighborhood, sufficient comparables to actually comp out and figure out a dollar value for that. Maybe one last item in terms of like as you start to scale, and these big building buyers have been doing this for years before the Burr model got even coined. Same exact thing. So they buy a rundown building. I mean, we're doing this a little bit more on the team now as well, is where we'll buy larger. We've shifted, not all of us, and not very frequently, but we've shifted into maybe buying 5-unit buildings, 7-unit buildings, those types of things, where the rents are not, the units are dilapidated, the rents aren't in maximum shape, and those size of properties are valued based on how much money they bring in, right? So by increasing how pretty a unit is, you might not be directly increasing the value of the property, but once that unit is maybe changed hands and the rents come up to market, and now we're going to get blamed for gentrification, that's a direct correlation to value. So some people listening might know the term cap rate. Basically, your income, your net operating income over the cost of the property gives you a percentage rating. Let's assume your cap rate, and this is fairly common nowadays, is 5%. Maybe for a big building, that's a little high, but we'll call it 5% for argument's sake and easy math in my head. I think it's every additional dollar that you create and rent is $20 in value, right? Or net operating income. So if you can reduce your expenses over here, and this is again just big building stuff, but you can reduce your expenses over here and increase your income over here, then you're spitting out a much bigger figure on the back end.
Companies have full divisions that that's their job.
Big investment companies have been doing this for years.
One of my good friends, that's his
the
job,
whole
is
game.
To figure out how to become more efficient. Efficiency is key.
When there's companies that go around and just sell light bulbs to big buildings, because it truly does equate to a higher value at the end of the day.
Thousands and thousands of dollars in savings per year.
Yeah.
I think the main thing, if there's one thing that you can take away from this episode, is when you're adding value to your property and you want to put money into it, go for objective things.
If your goal is cash, right? If your goal is strictly financially based and not hey, I like it because it's pretty.
Exactly.
I got penis windows upstairs. They're stained glass. They look dope. I bet you they're not adding value to anybody. But I think they're sick.
They are pretty cool.
They're a fun talking point when people walk into the house. Nobody cares.
No.
Doesn't add value.
No. So if you're looking to add value, objective items, objective renovations, that's the way to go. And if you don't know what that is, because if you're not living this every day, you probably don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a fair question to ask. It's not like you're stupid for not knowing. It's just, hey, I don't know too much about stocks. I'd have to ask questions to professionals if I really wanted help in it. Mm-hmm. I know that I know not enough to stay away from them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in real estate, you have those people that you can ask. Either if it's friends, that's a great place to start. Mm-hmm. Ask 10 friends. Hey, I'm putting in this cool countertop. What do you think? If most of them like it, odds are it's objective and not subjective. Right? That's exactly what objective means. It means most people think
are
that
into
way.
It. Yeah.
Another great person to ask, your realtor. Your realtor, if they are great, they will know exactly what an objective renovation is. Creating value objectively. That's so important. I think we've gone on now for a little bit. I think we have a few questions from Andre, actually. He prepared a few questions for us. So, Andre, why don't you come a little bit closer? Just throw out a couple. Maybe pick two, and we can just quickly discuss them here.
What do you like? Is this our listener question segment?
Yeah. We have.
Nice.
I think we should, because this is perfect. I mean, Andre's the perfect example of somebody who wants to learn about this a little bit, and what better way to learn about it than to ask the guys that do this all day.
It's fair.
So what do you think about solar panels? Do they add value to property or no?
Interesting.
Because that's saving on electrical bill.
So I think theoretically you would believe that they do. It's kind of like that whole, what was it? Theoretically adding, was it waterproofing?
Yeah.
Right? Like you would think that would add a lot of value.
More tangible than water. And I don't know the exact dollar value in terms of savings, for example, but I can tell you I've looked at, I know you get a rebate because you send some power back to the grid, right? Typically it uses some power for the house, some goes back to the grid, and there is an actual savings, there's a calculation, and I'm sure you can say, I get X, the cost of this was Y. But when you look at a property that actually has a solar panel on it, and I can't think of many, but I also can't think of any that have ever been noticeably more expensive than their neighbors.
No, I would say I used waterproofing. I actually meant laneway housing.
Right.
It's another one of those topics where it's just not around enough to really make a huge impact. And I know there was a pretty huge barrier to entry for the first few years it was available. They were really expensive, unreliable, didn't really do that well in the market.
I think the payback period was so long.
It was so long.
It was something like 15, 20 years originally when they first came out to actually like earn the money back off of them.
Fact check that. But
yeah,
it's something like that. It's long period, right?
Fact check everything that I say.
No, that's a great question though. I mean, theoretically, you would expect it to increase value, and hey, maybe one day it will. Maybe one day shortly.
I mean, I think we're definitely moving more towards a green building standard in general.
Yes, I agree.
The way the homes are heated, the way the insulation,
efficiency. It's all efficiency, right? Yeah. Your HVAC systems are becoming more efficient.
There's a local guy. I think he's starting to work on like he used to do a lot of flips, and a lot of the new projects he's working on. He's trying to make it so that the homes are complete, like 100% self-sufficient. Now, again, do you get your money back out of that type of work? No, he's so new to it too. Like the whole process is so new. If this home in Toronto can function completely off the grid, great. You used a lot of expensive products, and unfortunately this is the way it's looked at right now. You've used a lot of expensive products, and I have nothing to comp it against. So therefore, what's your value? But your impact on the earth is tremendous compared to the other building style, and I'm sure that will hopefully eventually become like a norm. But, this is not the Off the Grid Living podcast, and I don't know shit about it.
Okay, in the next section, what are the things you should not spend money on?
So what are the things you should not spend money on?
Well, okay. That jumps immediately into the subjective realm, right? If you like something, buy it, right? But in terms of is it going to add any value to the home? I think we touched on it earlier. Pools are a real touchy subject. That's a one where you can spend a lot, like a significant amount of money. And if your goal is not to be in that home and taking care of that, that pool, for example,
or if you can't afford to,
there's a cost associated to maintaining it. And then it just gets degraded, and then you got to fill the pool in, and it's concrete, and you can't go grass, and like it has a real impact on the lot. That's a good one, I would say, that's not going to add a tremendous amount of value, and you're eliminating a ton of buyers out of the pool. the potential people that would look at your home because they don't want to deal with the same things. They don't want to deal with the maintenance or whatnot. You have a very few select individuals. I don't know, what's another one that you could say you don't like?
That's it.
Pretty much things like wine cellars.
Wine cellars.
That's a good one.
I think once you get to the level of wine cellars, so
elevator.
Let's say you're in an average Toronto home. I would say they typically don't have space for a wine cellar. So, I mean, if you're looking at your, again, I said this last time, 15 by 100 lot, which is very normal. 18 feet by 100.
Yeah.
To have a wine cellar, maybe you have like a cantina or something, and you have a wine cellar in there. But
I'm gonna make sure that Lauren knows that you used the word cantina earlier.
Why?
Because we've had this constant battle between cantina and cold cellar for years, and it's not a cold cellar.
Cellar
it sounds gross.
Sounds very yuppie.
Cantina sounds like where you go hang out.
Canteen.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go to the canteen. I'm curing my meat. Is that what it's called?
Making my wine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say things like that, again, are pretty subjective. Now, if you have like a $4 million home and you have space for a wine cellar, live it up, man.
I think there's a point to be made there about knowing your audience, knowing the market, right? Because there's a certain point where that's an expectation, right?
Yes.
And hell, there's certain markets, if you're in like LA, for example, I'm sure a pool is probably like an expectation. And at a certain price point, you're not the one taking care of it anyways. So,
well, in Toronto, you can use a pool for what, 4 months? Maybe 6?
Well, yeah, exactly.
If it's heated, maybe 6. But
yeah, precisely.
I think exactly what Phil said. Know your audience. At a certain point, it's
a lot of different
it
things
will
can
add
make
value,
sense.
but I would say at the average range, so
Here,
$1 million
local
range,
average.
$1.2 million range, whatever
Yeah.
it is in Toronto. If you have a wine cellar, for example, you're not gonna have a basement at that point, right?
Yeah.
So I
That's
mean,
a big
pick
ass
your
wine
poison,
cellar.
right? Like most people aren't gonna want a huge wine cellar in their basement because it takes up the whole space.
And if they do, especially the people that would put it into a home like this,
I mean, I wouldn't
if they
mind it.
do, they probably want, like, if they're that, I don't want to say particular, but if they're like that into that hobby, we'll call it, they're going to want to put in their own, not like someone else's half-baked wine cellar. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be, hey, let me do my custom thing.
exactly.
Okay, another question about interior decoration.
Interior decoration,
And-
okay.
And if it doesn't add any value, and let's say you have a nice interior decoration, does it help to sell a house?
If it, just the style of,
So if
like,
it's a little fancier,
the actual
you-
decoration of a home.
You did
Yeah.
this in one of your properties. We won't say any names, but in the washroom, I remember you have nice wallpaper, not cheesy one, but don't you have that nice design underneath the stair there?
The metal,
You know,
yeah, it's like a backsplash, actually, like a metal backsplash.
it looks really
we
nice.
put
I
in
mean,
the-
does it add value? No, but
It's kinda
when,
cool.
when
Little
you're
bling.
selling a house. Yeah, you want those little features that
them
stick out,
sizzle
right?
features. Some of these, we took a guru thing years back for flipping, and they always called them sizzle features, and it was like the fireplace where you don't need it, or I mean, the decorating I think is on a different page than like adding an actual feature to a property, but that's the whole point of staging, right? The
whole point of
the whole
staging.
home staging
Always-
industry exists
always stage.
for a reason, and it's precisely that because it does add value. And we were talking about this earlier. If you walk into a home that's like old paint, old floors, old kitchen, you can't, a lot of people will back away because they can't visualize what the home's going to look like at the end of the day after their project. Much can be the same. You could build a big, brand new, sexy finish, empty box, and it's so much easier to show the home for someone to visualize living in the home when it's staged. And it doesn't need to be perfectly staged. If you already live in the home, obviously it's crazy to expect you to take stuff, take all your shit out and stick it in and bring new furniture in so that it's like everyone's going to like this. But, some depersonalization and just making sure your decorating is
Nice word.
That's a big one. Making sure your decorating is like neutral,
I
but
would
the
argue
best you can do with
if
what
you're
you
going
have.
to sell your property, no matter what it is, rental
Stage it.
or stage it and put that little extra amount of money in small things, light fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the $25 cheap ones, maybe think of upgrading them. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, but maybe get a little bit nicer ones. It's small
Yeah.
things like this. Like most people won't even think of it, but imagine walking into a home where you just saw 20 others that are just the same,
Yep.
but this one has a cool light fixture that you like, or that
they're not even that
extra
expensive.
little. No, they're not. It's
you
like
get
$50, $100.
yeah,
You can get like
$50. You can get some. I mean, even there's some of them nowadays in the 20 range that can do great.
Yeah,
Those,
and they're
like,
nice. Yeah.
those LED domes from like Costco.
Yeah.
Great. They're not like the crazy nipple dome.
No, they're
ditch
nice,
the nipples. Get the flatties.
I would argue though,
Chandelier type of stuff.
anything small like that you
Yeah.
can make stand out. Staging is a big part of it, but
Mm-hmm.
anything small that makes your property stand out, because at the end of the day, you want to stand out, right? No matter what you do, you want to be picked and stand out. If you're just average, you're gonna get the
Unless
average
you're
price,
playing
and then you have to be
soccer
okay.
at the work event and don't get picked.
I didn't have that problem.
All by
Actually, you're pretty good
myself.
though. Okay,
Yeah, you think I would have been picked?
yeah. I don't know. They
Anyways,
weren't
I'm not
expecting you.
salty at all.
One more question. So I just started watching American Horror Story,
Oh boy, here we go.
and basically, what if somebody died in the house or was
Ooh,
violently murdered? Does it affect the value of the property? or-
Yes, indeedy. That's the question was, if someone was violently murdered in your home, does that affect the value?
or just died.
Or just died? Well, I would argue that like if it were, and this happens a lot in our neighborhood that we focus in, it's very old European. Someone dies peacefully in the home, less of an impact. There is what's called a stigma associated with certain types of events, murder being one of them. Stuff that it makes the news, it gets around. You do have to disclose if something like that happens, and there will absolutely be a stigma associated and a dollar value reduction in many cases with that property. Most buyers don't want to be living in there. Now, if you're an investor, on the other hand, and you're looking for like a high return on your rents, that might be a type of property that you want to look at. That's completely up to you. I don't know if I'd buy like a murder house. I'd probably buy like, an estate sale where someone passed away at home very peacefully. But I'm not buying.
Think about, again, this goes back to the objective versus subjective. Yeah. Objectively, most people, including us, wouldn't really want a property like that. Just for the random reason it is, just to be associated with that. Rather just buy another one for the same price. That's similar, right? And so,
well, they likely wouldn't be the same price. And part of the objective value driving away all of the potential, not all, but most of the potential buyers should bring down the cost a little bit, at least in some way, shape, or form. So there's the benefit, but to you, is it worth it? Especially if you're living in the house, right? I don't know if I want to get haunted by like some machete ghost or something.
No. All right, dude.
We gotta go.
We've been on this for a while now.
Yeah.
I think this was great. I mean, we went on and on and on. What are you doing this week? Anything big? Any plans?
No.
No.
It's COVID. I don't go anywhere. Stuck in this basement.
Shit.
Yeah. No, I think get it back on my 6 a.m. grind. Get out and do some deals.
Nice.
Otherwise, just chilling. Still working here. Got some walls to paint. Gotta finish setting up the office. Gotta get rid of that green and purple and red and blue and chalk and whirlwind of color.
Nice.
Not getting to go to any Kawarthas or anything.
Cool.
That's for sure. What are you doing?
Just working on some more of my
content
personal content. We're just gonna be shooting Seedon Village. Ooh. Beautiful area. Somewhere I know very deeply. Pretty much grew up there. Throughout my childhood. Middle school days, high school days. That's where all my friends live. My grandparents live.
Damn, I gotta go do a video in Newmarket. Everyone's gonna be like, "Where the fuck?"
This is where we drove to the Tim Hortons.
That's that. Yeah, this is car parking lot Tim Hortons number 1. This is car parking lot Tim Hortons number 2. And every so often, we would drive to Vaughan for the big car parking lot.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the Seedon Village episode. If you haven't seen it already, go check out 781 Markham Street. You can find that on my YouTube channels, Spiro Vrisalis. Just type in the name. I should pop up. That's how it usually works. I think I'm the only one, maybe in the world.
You can't be the only one.
Yeah, the other one passed away. It was my grandpa.
There's got to be another one.
Nope. My name is okay. So
we're gonna someone send us. We're gonna find him.
My name actually comes from a small town in Greece called Vrisalis. So what happened was my family fled. We were actually on what used to be, I guess, considered mainland Greece, which is now modern day Turkey. So my family was there. Then obviously Turkey kicked everybody out and pretty violently kicked everybody out. So my family fled and they went up into the mountains in a small town called Vrisalis in modern day Greece. And so they were known as the people from Vrisalis. And so they moved to another town which is even higher up in the mountains because the Turkish people were coming still. So they went even higher into the mountains to hide, and that was a different village. So they were known as the people from Vrisalis. So that's where that name comes from. So yeah, I'm the only Spiro Vrisalis, and
well, you got page 1 on lock.
Yeah, no, page 1. If you look up my name, it's everything.
God damn it!
If you look at images, I'm the only Spiro Vrisalis.
I'm trying to fact check.
I have also been to my funeral before, which is super crazy. When I went to my grandpa's funeral, his name is Spiro Vrisalis. So I experienced everything they would say most likely at my funeral. What a trip.
Damn it.
Okay.
They even got you on Hockey Life.
Yeah, my old hockey stats are there. They're not great.
How are you
the ones they have.
Official Ryan Serhant.
Huh?
I don't know. I'm on like page 4.
Huh. No, it's all me.
Serhant, yeah.
All right, guys. So follow me at Spiro Vrisalis, Instagram, YouTube, everything. Look at me. I'm over here.
I'm much more difficult. We're just going to go Instagram, philg.re, super simple, or find Spiro and then type in my name in any of the associated.
That is true. Probably a lot easier.
Yeah, okay, fine. I gave him a follow. Follow him first, and then look up
or
Phil
follow
Gardner
Phil and the Kid.
Just follow Phil and the Kid.
Yeah, follow
that
Phil
works.
and the Kid, and we'll be back next week with another episode.
Boom. Now
Thanks,
we
guys.
kind of have a space. Oh, God. All right, get out of my house before my wife kills us all.
Yes, it's late.